think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Good morning and welcome back to the Pirate101 build experience. Today we're going to be going over my Musketeer build. I haven't gone through Sinbad, Crocotopia, and Tartarus yet. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that thanks to a comment I got on the Pirate101 in 2024 video. But this build is the build that I will be using to get through that new content, and it shouldn't really be a problem. This build is really fun, it's really powerful, and it honestly might be my favorite build out of all of my characters. So, let's get right to it and look at what we've got. First up, the hat. Now this isn't a required piece, which will make sense once we get to the weapon, but I am obviously running the Santa Rana hat that drops from Santa Rana in Cool Ranch, and this is just for the rank of Overwatch. Otherwise, you could use something like the Artemis hat for the rank of Burst Fire, or the Fu Manchu hat that gives Cannonball and Super Strike. So while we're on the topic of the weapon, let's just go over to it. And so if you want to run something other than the Santa Rana hat, like let's say you want to run the Artemis hat, then you would want to be using the Darkmoor Death Spitter, which gives the rank of Overwatch, so that will give you your Overwatch 5. But because I use the hat, I can use something like the Sinbad's Long Gun with the 5 base attack range and the super nice heal. Now this build is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You could swap in the Shooty Staffy version and it'll run just the same with Overwatch 5. You can just make use of the Staffy talents if you want to do that, like Readied Spell or Mojo Echo or Mojo Rising. But that's not really what this build is focusing on, so I'm sticking with a pure Shooty. I also really like the heal. Once I had this weapon dropped, I was like, okay, I gotta work this in. But going back to our outfit, I am running the Bellatrix Underworld Garb for a rank of True Grit and Retaliation. And this is the first sense of kind of what this build is about. But if you don't want to farm for this, I would also recommend the Artemis Garb, which gives spell power, weapon power, accuracy, and agility. The talents it gives aren't that good, but the stats are incredible. And I think these two are easy enough to farm, where if you were to get any other pieces, you might as well just get these, and they will make your build so much better. For the boots, surprisingly, I am not running Tide, mostly because I don't have Tide on this account, but I do think that this piece is required for this build, and it is the Artemis Underworld boots that give a rank of Overwatch, and also the same stats as the Artemis robe. I think, again, this piece of gear is easy enough to farm, where you might as well put in the time to get it, and it'll just make you that much more powerful. Weapons we went over. Sinbad's Long Gun. You could also use any Shooty Staffy or the Darkmoor Death Spitter for the rank of Overwatch. When it comes to eye patches and accessories, I don't think I'm running maybe the best, but I think it's useful enough for what I like to play, which is the bomb variety and having all my Musketeer talents be sort of defensive like Overwatch 5. So I'm running the Master Smuggler's Cowl, But alternatively, you could run something like the Gallon Stripes for an extra sniper shot and weapon power. Or you could run the... What? You could also run the Patch of St. Fido that will give good accuracy, dodge, and weapon power. But I like the mojo part of Musketeer more than the damage output, so I'm running Smuggler's Cowl. Now, when we get into the totems, I'm running Mu Manchu for the Cannonballs and Super Strike. It also gives a ton of accuracy, which is super nice. But alternatively, you could run something like Kane, which gives Quick Adjust and True Grit, and also a lot of accuracy. You could also run something like Valor's Fortress. Or if you're going to do the Shooty Staffy variety, you might want to look into getting the Silver Trinket or the Gold Trinket that just give Readied Spell. And then now for the Charm, I am running the Bresciani Chain, which gives a ton of accuracy, True Grit, and Quick Adjust. This drops from Kane, but alternatively you could use something like a Sniper Shot from the Shrimp, the level 5 Shrimp, or you could use something like Mu Manchu, but I think this dropped enough for me when I was farming Kane a ton that I think it's a pretty reasonable drop to get for something like this build. We're going to skip over the ring because I think that's the integral piece that kind of ties us all together to make it as seamless as possible. So we're going to quickly talk about my pet. And my pet, it was almost perfect. It just got one little talent that I didn't want. But my ideal pet will be Overwatch, Tough, Elusive, and Burst Fire. So if you're doing the math, you can check that I am not running Burst Fire 2, and I think that's fine. Overwatch 5, I mean, you don't really need the Burst Fire when you're doing thousands of damage with your bombs. But ideally, I would replace that Mojo Echo with Burst Fire. And the reason for the Tough, we'll get into when we look at the stats, but it's just a bunch of extra health that I think is super nice. And once we look at my other pets, we can see that I was trying, I just didn't quite get close enough. This pet I have a lot of hope for. It got Elusive, so maybe it'll hit 30 by the end of this double pet XP. Maybe it'll get Overwatch or Burst Fire or Tough and give me a lot of hope. But let's move on to the last piece of gear, that is the ring. So once I saw this ring and then also the weaker variety, I knew that this was the sort of build that I wanted to go with. And I am running the fabled Quick Adjust True Grit ring that allegedly drops from Kane, but I got this from the party bars. You may have seen it on the Reddit when I was complaining. But yeah, I got this from the party bars. It took about a week. I was doing it on every character. So that was about 4 runs a day. I don't have a max privateer yet. But that was about 4 runs a day. So it took about 30 tries to get it. But it was super unexpected when I got it. But obviously you do not need this piece of gear. If you can get the weaker variant, which is just True Grit and base agility, that's fine. Or if you don't want to run the ring, you could run the totem, so you'd get True Grit 3 that way from the outfit, the totem, and then the charm, and then you could run a different ring like the level 5 ring, or something that I would recommend is the Ring of Zeus or the Ring of Hercules that give Mojo's Storm and Big Guns respectively. Mount don't give stats, but at least with my Stitch I think the crow's wings look super cool. Otherwise I could use something like this, but luckily for now mounts don't give stats, but don't give KI any ideas like in Wizard 101. So let's get over the stats. We rock in 101 agility. That's not too high, but I think it's fine. We have 310 weapon power. It's pretty decent. We get 50 of it from our agility. We have low base weapon power with the long gun, but you don't really need to care about the weapon power as much as you want to care about the spell power, which is a lot. Obviously, I'm running naturally spooky, so I was raised by Crocotopia when I started my character. You get Spooky 2 from the Witch Doctor trainer, and then I obviously get an additional 20 from my eye patch and then my boots. This could vary depending on if you're running a different eye patch or a different robe, or if you for some reason didn't get Spooky 2 from the Witch Doctor trainer. If you want to see me cover the training points for all the different classes, I could do that. I think that'd be kind of fun. But for now, we're just gonna touch briefly on them, like pointing out when to get things like that. The next big stat that is kind of a byproduct of all the gear we're using is accuracy. We're actually getting a ton of accuracy from just our gear. So we have a base accuracy of 135, and then we get accurate 3 from the Musketeer trainer just naturally. But then we get an additional, what is that? 38, 30, so that's 68, plus another 17 is 55. We get an additional 55 from just our gear. That's pretty decent. That allows us to hit our Overwatch 5s more often. Dodge doesn't really matter, but we get a good bit of it from our robe. Armor doesn't matter. Magic resist doesn't matter. And then the health. So you get tough 2 just by playing the game. And then the tough rank that I get from my pet actually gives us 150, which I think is a pretty sizable difference. So it's just something I like to do. There's nothing else I would really want on a pet besides the Overwatch Elusive Burst Fire. Double tap isn't really necessary because you get double tap 3. I don't really want something like Quick Adjust or True Grit because we already have the ranks that we care about. We have Quick Adjust 2 and Grit 3. So it just seems like a natural filler to get tough. And speaking of which, we can move on to our power setup. I'm running the buff in the first slot and then all of our good bombs in the next slots. And then AoE heal, another heal pretty close by. The second page is all the garbage, it doesn't really matter. And then this is just our trick shots, our super shots, some of our defensive stuff, some of our other defenses, and traps. But what really matters is this first row, because you want to get your torpedoes or your Sky Spirit as fast as possible. And then now we can look at our talents list. Again, naturally spooky. You get Sniper just by being a Musketeer and getting it from your trainer. Staffy Weapon 2 from the Witch Doctor trainer. Stabby Weapons 2 from the Swashbuckler trainer. And this was just to get Fast 2, as we see here. Spooky 2 from the Witch Doctor trainer. Burst Fire 1 was from the Clandestine trainer. Witch Hunter 1 was from the Clandestine trainer. This is something you could maybe get a second rank on from the pet. That'd be pretty decent. Accurate and shooty weapons you get from your trainer, the Musketeer trainer. Readied Spell 2 is from the Clandestine trainer. Quick Draw 3 is from the Musketeer trainer. Double Tap 3 is from the Musketeer trainer. Quick Adjust 2 is from our gear. And if we really wanted to for some reason, we could go for Quick Adjust 3, which would give us more accuracy when we miss. This doesn't matter. Mojo Mastery is from our cowl. And if you were to have a second piece that gave Mojo Mastery, it would give less and less. We have Tough 3 for the extra 200 health. And then we have the two big parts of this build. We have True Grit 3 from our pieces of gear. And this stuns the enemy when you hit them. So if you're going against a Musketeer boss that's kind of popping off on you and you do these True Grit attacks, you have a chance to stun, just like Vengeance Strike, and it could stop that. And then obviously the biggest piece is Overwatch 5. So when a character moves into your range, you can shoot them and then it'll knock them back and stop their turn, which is super, super useful when soloing or going through these endgame bosses and fights that are abnormally hard because KI said so. Mojo Echo 1 is from my pet. If I was running the hybrid, I could have Echo 1, Ready 2, or even Ready 3. And then we have Retaliation, which I don't think is relevant to what... Oh, it does work with range attacks. So I guess this does work. But then we have Elusive 4. Elusive 3 you get naturally. And then Elusive 4 will add extra dodge percent when we are below health. And the reason I like this so much is because if an enemy comes up to you and hits you and you go below 50% health, you're pretty at risk, especially when your companions don't have heals. So being able to dodge a lot more, especially when our dodge chance is so low already, we could kind of survive a little bit longer. And that's just the sort of thing that I think about when it comes to doing solos and trying to solo farm is how do I make this process as seamless as possible. And then now we move on to my companions. Now, unlike the Buccaneer, I am not using any Crowns companions. This is just free to play. Obvious is Old Scratch. My second obvious choice is Gracie for her proximity mine and her golem. These get boosted by Old Scratch's mojo. And then in my third slot, I have Chantel, who is just super good for her sniper shots, for her Cloud Spirit, and then she also gets Overwatch, Burst, and Tap. Now the other slots, just in case for some reason these guys die and you don't want to revive them, Bonnie Gan is a fantastic alternative. She also gets Overwatch 3, Burst 2, and then Tap. She also has a good heal and a good ability that lowers dodge. And then if you want some melee people, I'd recommend someone like Contessa or El Toro. Or if you need a tank, I recommend Ratbeard. Now you may be wondering, why is my Ratbeard almost max level but is still the first promotion? I want to make a video on Ratbeard's story arc through his promotions. I think it's a super fascinating story. So next time you see this character, it will probably be a max Ratbeard that I might sub in for Chantel once we do these Tartarus and Crocotopia, and I kind of need a tank that will get some stuff done, because the golem is good, but sometimes you just need a little bit more that will stop your enemies for a turn or two. And I believe that covers everything in this build. I hope you guys enjoyed. The last build will be the Privateer, but I am kind of cooking something up for the Buccaneer. I got a recommendation on the subreddit for a Buccaneer build that has a lot of epics, and it looks pretty fun. The only real piece I'm missing is the pet, but I have everything else, so I may just make the build, make the video, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.